Yo, Joe, shout out, Yaku. Hello, everyone, Yaku. Anywho, Yaku. And Pi, she says, was it a good idea? Yeah, because there's going to be a hell spawn. So, and right there, Pi should be around 31. Yeah, 26, 27, 30, 29, 30. Yeah, 31. Right there, yep. Should be successful. All else fails, 37, 38 accurate. But right there, Pi is not nice, Yaku. He says, what good, Pi? You can't even defeat a guy, Pi. Watch, yeah, watch. And then, was it all nice? No. I had to go Bull, Malaysian angel goddess, Malaysian immortal female. And then her peers, yep. And then right there, 2067, Rio, yeah, Rio. She says, you have to be at least a billion miles per hour, a few million miles per hour. You're near 80 million, yeah, 80 million, yeah. And then right there is good enough for immortal level, but in reality, by boot up again, you need at least 12 trillion to 15 trillion miles per hour. And then probably when you're there, you're about 14. Yeah, 14. Yep, 14. You didn't die. Afterwards, it's near 20. Yep. And then she tells you the truth. But what's it worth? Yeah, because you get your coexisting paper, the 50 UFO technology alloy, the microchip in the box and stuff. All that you need to operate a UFO flying object. Yep, real, unidentified object. If I said, Vegas concerned, 3 hours you pass, yeah, they're big too, but it says right afterwards, don't tell little ones me murder them. Yep, 100% doing what he's doing. And then it says, in life, we do not pick a man and cannot evolve on his own. Exactly, yes, that's correct. And then later on, it was you who did it right. But then right there in Thailand, the stupid fucking Chinese, you murdered him, and then he was a beggar, and then you won. And then 4 hours later, all the other angels left you alone for the first time. But accurate. Them not there assault you. And you won, but be careful, He says, was that a good idea to tell your people, yeah, what's a stupid, that you turn all clear to the house, huh? No, super smart. Yeah, super smart. Every day when you pour yourself, you go up and find, you come back, more of your substance is saved. And then when your device is finally before it, pull it out of thin air, accurate, manifest in 3 hours. Her dies over there. And then her tells you, was it a good idea? Yeah. Was it stupid? 48 million years later, they knew it. That's how you're supposed to. Accurate. He says, was it a good idea? 400 immortals passed away. Them supposed to, yeah, them supposed to. We have no room for you. Accurate. And he says, you said, was it a good idea? Yeah. I killed Allah in 7 years. Yeah, Allah wasn't anything. Out there, when all the stasis stars, you fly around with your group of human gods and human immortals, and you protect everyone. And then you look, and then the other groups are flying around with their war gods, accurate. And then you got each other, accurate. And then right there, you gutted them in less 900 trillion. 5,000 per second for 14 days to make sense. Yeah, that was the slowest war god group. That's correct. The others took off and them knew it. That's pretty much normal. And then why is that? Because it's a Asian space station and them have to you do that. Right. The little liar is Hmong woman. Didn't believe you until she saw you got birds and gods in 3 hours. Them rope pie is that tinfoil pie didn't melt away in 20 minutes. Accurate. Look at that pie. At 5 of them running into a fucking room. Discovered another note from another Chinese god and pie wrote, nothing new, yeah, nothing new, but yep, 7-day fights or 7 months. Yeah, y'all good. I do see you survive Egyptians. Yeah, 6 days. Good. Nothing new. Yeah, y'all good. Their yin yang god has a circumference. Pi has a circumference of 800 miles circumference. Pi at miles per hour. Miles, yep. And radius, yep, circumference. And right there, you can vaporize anyone, Pi. And Pi is about 7 times that. Yeah, y'all good. And then he can do that, but what him not tell you, he can only withstand Egyptian gods for 3 days. And Pi, look at that, Pi. Him passed out on the 6th day, and he lost everything. The moment he lost, he went into Elixir, and then right there, those are human immortals. After he says, you said you a real god. What is the difference? And won't watch this. I fought it 8 minutes, and it was not a human god. It was a full Persian god. a full 7 million year Persian god. The old war god that murdered Pi's grandpa's 4 million years old. Accurate. It's a European type. And later on, Pi, you'll figure Pi. 2 hours of you matching the speeds, and it has a supercharger somewhere. And then Pi, you said, it says, how come superchargers are so rare? Egyptians make supercharger from spinal cord, but only Egyptian gods. Unless you steal it and then you do it right. And Pi did it right. Yeah, good. The little dumbass didn't know you can abstract it from any human god, but you have to be super fast. Yeah, y'all good. And you have to cut it up until it heals and those areas are revealed. And Pi, look at that. 48 minutes. Liars are you and had it. And then Pi, he says, when you can imitate it and not die, Pi, and turn it on and absorb new speed to the throat, you know immediately, Pi, the molecules are real. And then you put it to you have demonic nucleus in cell areas and then fast, Pi, but later on, you'll know what you said, Pi. You a liar compared to I was, Pi. He cut you a bad. Pi, that's true, that's true. Is pretty big. Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, it's pretty big. Pi usually, turbo, everything usually 13 minutes. Yeah, 13 minutes. Pi do that about 20 times, about 15, 16 times. Worst case scenario, probably 15, yeah, 15, yeah, Pi's out of there. Pi is not daring to go 60 times like that. That thing is not a regular human god. Yeah, yeah. In 2 hours, Pi, you're popping out of gold, and you're scary. Yeah, you're scary. You're scary, Pi. 48 minutes later, you're rushing off to your space station to re-inject your soul into your new body. Hurts like hell. Yeah, hurts like hell. 3 hours later, you hate yourself. Yeah, you hate yourself. People are liars. And Pisces, you know what she said to you? After you re-inject, then you're stable. Yeah. And then that's when you're happy. It was 9 hours of Pi using static body and Pi scared. Yeah, y'all Pi's afraid of it. And Pi you see how fast it cut? It cut you 400 trillion times per second. Yeah, that's good. A liar is you too. Yeah, yeah, good. 咪都排 Persia 一個先導嘅導遊都是 yeah 都老了個真的去做藥個 yeah he's a white god that me respected yeah probably halted that probably let him heal yeah probably waited a few seconds a few minutes to let him heal yeah the dumbass didn't understand that is theatrical. Oh yeah, theatrical. When you're versing real gods, Pi, yeah, there's no rest, but later on, Pi, graphic moment. You didn't die, 2 of your bots seemed to smash, and then him passed away, but he told you that's how you're supposed to die, y'all could. And Pi, you said it was there, you match his dex, but he's only a level 4. Pi, yeah, that's true. They fight. Later on, he says, was it a good idea to fight the wheel god? Yeah. You did about 12 trillion dead per second on wheel gods, and right there, they're proud of you, Pi. They know it. You're the real level 4. Yep, green haze white equivalent. And right there, Pi, big mistake was you and Egypt. He says, 12 hours you fought him, and then his dad protected you normal. And his dad shouted, that's enough. Where will we go to? Not Yoko. He is the owner. He builds a new space station. We not a bunch of white human got nuts with no futures and no path. And right there, yeah, no options. And right there, big fight. He swung, yep, them left him alone warm. Yes, still. It was there. He nodded there. Yes, still. Hey, Pi. He says, was it a good idea, Pi? Irain tried to help you, Pi. Bullshit. Irain are the biggest thieves. Irain is no good, yep. And then right on, Pi. In 20,000, Pi, you found out, yep, your Malaysian space station, 7,000 years old, forehead of King Cobra. The Ukraine took it, and then you knew it. When you get there, you murder them, and it was horrifying fights, Pi. I saw 12 seconds, and 900 trillion gone every 12 seconds. Every room gone in 12 seconds, Pi. Yeah, good. Every room is the size of, I don't know, planet Earth times 4. Yeah, times 4, that's correct. If I even now, see, please. He says, I've never seen an evil lone god like you do that to white gods, because them are not allowed to live with you. Them are lucky. They're coexisting on agreement. Accurate. And the Pi's friendly. Accurate. Them didn't see Pi was way mad. Pi did that again. Accurate. It was 2 hours and then he nodded there. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Pi, you said, you know what happened? He says, life and agreement, not that. But later on, when they prove themselves good, I let them into the regular citizenship, but enslaved, but with dignity and pride. And then all the rights and areas protected, and none shall touch those areas, period.
That's 100% law, those norms.
And then they're healthy.
That's correct. And Pi is smart. He was smart. 2 hours of the idiot didn't understand that there are certain areas you do not touch or damage in God, Va's language, and in dragon culture. That's correct. The idiot passed away not knowing. Pi, you gutted 12 gods, breaking the law. Your knight's invincible, but 9 hours of you crying, Pi. Those are your best friends. Pi, yeah, that's fine. He says, I'm sick of it, Pi. I'm going to try to end it, and Pi nodded. And be careful, Pi. Liars are you and him. 12,000 years of living with A, and you discovered what you run into is probably Islam. Yeah, it's probably Islam. Yeah, it's Islam. And then later on, Pi, they made fun of you. They wrote, what the hell is the difference between Hebrew and Islam? Way different. Yeah, way different. Islam is actually slower. Yeah, slower in speed. When you get to Hebrew, they get as fast as had it and then back as slow as level 4 to hide themselves. Them are not nice. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hey, Pi, you see how fast, Pi? 2 hours. You defeated it and then you went slow and then him nodded. Him knew why, Pi. Those are not regular gods. They told you the truth. He says, you lie, Pi, because you're healthy. Look at me, damaged. Pi, I'm normal. Me too, Pi. You let him heal, Pi. Yeah, yes, me too. And then Pi Isom later on, he says, I'm dying, Pi, because my intestines are melting. And in 28 minutes, he got normal. Go, Papa, go. Go, I need to one I got to Actually, 2 hours of you healing, Pi. You saw what went wrong with his metal. Became green. Pi, I became green. Pi not say, yeah, Pi not say. Yeah. And later on in life, Pi not tell you the truth. Pi's holy ray is green woman. Yeah, okay. Green and blue, but you never use blue all the way, you'll die, woman. That's true. And then 3 hours later, him knew it. Blue allows Pi to withstand red ray. And then Pi looks Egyptian and Persian, but Pi is Hmong. And biggest Pi saying, China left you outside for 4 hours. You went in and you saw only a bunch of stupid little gals flying around. And then you smile, yep, you flew around. And you look around at the norm and the normal people, normal gods, so you flew around, Pi. Because they're regular, yeah. There's no need to cut them all yet. And then later on, Pi, it was 14 minutes of you flying around, and he swung. He was one of those spiking tigers, and he said, I saw you cut my grandpa. And Pi said, quit it, or I'll swing my sword, and you'll die within a few minutes. And he quits it. Pi, yeah, that's true. I don't want to fight a weakling. Yeah, okay. Go away, monster. And then it leaves you alone. The dumbass didn't believe it, Pi. 50 of them, yep, held it down and neutered it normal. And then he says, there, normal. The kid is afraid of you. He says, you is the evil god that murdered 47 Egyptians on earth. And Pi wrote, yes, that is correct. Yes, by me, by you saying, by you saying, 5 feet 5 tall, yep, swinging green swords, yep, real, yep, 47 dead Egyptians from Jerusalem, Mom. Yeah, that's true, yeah, that's true. Pi not give a fuck, y'all good. And then 12 minutes, Pi, you smart, yeah, you're smart. I told Lord, I got this, Pi. Mới khó lù na lầu đã phải lại được của tiệt. Quay chả ni sẽ phải ni họ tua pe ni họ bao pe họ ni họ lão liên tới vì phải lời chuyện lệnh gọi ya tu cho cái một số ý tu stole away ấy tu nên tu sa ya cái tu nên chịu tu sa nhà cho cái một số sự bên chỉ cho chạy cái nhau số về ya tôi chỉ có nhau số rồi chứ chỉ trong tua cái đó cho nên là sự ya cái phải chịu chơi sa đó ya chịu chơi sa đó. And later on, Pi, cái chịu chơi sa nó đâu cho mình tuần nó đó gì. proportionally 仲係咁做啦，嗱個 call 啦咁樣不到，個姐碰到到，也個姐一碰到到一突八到，都沒人才能做得緊拎，那是同那個在幫你，都沒人才能係點派，個咪個絕配，都連那個你打什麼俾到多配，個唔使個那個你係老細，派攞俾配，你個本咗拖咁樣派咗多啲咋，派咗10萬之後呢，個都個嘢都這樣先也派咗。And Pi, you won. Don't be careful, Pi. After you saw the footage, yeah, you nodded. And then later on, you cried, Pi. It was the same type of bitch that your grandpa took up there. And him didn't get it. The bitch is not into you. Don't take it up there. That's true. And he kept time traveling. Him kept cheating, and him didn't see. None of it lying because I stacked a different stupid last name, and there was a different vagina. Yeah. Different pitch and tone. And 2 hours later, look at that. Ninja went to Wanadu. He gave up immediately, Pi. When you said that, and in 2 hours, you butchered them, and 9 days later, you realized, Pi, the little fucking little Kyran woman's pretty smart, but 20 trillion years, Pi, you'll come to the conclusion that them isn't in. Oh, them dies, yeah, them dies. Those things only last about a few minutes. Yeah, a few minutes. Yeah. The funny thing is, Pi, when you fought the rake, Pi, you saw it was the same rake talking through you, and then you found out how it get there, and then you laugh, Pi. But 9 hours later, you remote view, and it is not the same rake, Pi. Yeah, it's not the same rake. Hey, be careful, Pi. He says, if you're the one that gutted my son over there, you was twice the speed of that fucking thing. Yep, that protected you. But you as a liar, because right there, when you Pi, when you bend, I see you magnify, you bend and you save, you match and you increase naturally. But 20 hours of you doing that, you hate yourself, Pi, because they catch up. Pi, yeah, that's true. And be careful, Pi. He says, was it a good idea to fight 400 trillion? Yeah. You murdered off 12 trillion and then scream. And they sounded fair, Va, go away and Pi nod. Yeah, Pi nod, he owes me to. And the Bayesian, that is super smart. He says, because if you don't show off your AP, they'll make you do more, and then they'll reward you with less. That's true. And later on, Hera didn't get the picture by them got it. That's true. And Bayesian, you know what happened? 58 minutes later, him shouted the ferry up. That is fast enough. And Bayesian, look at the picture by 400 trillion years when you went back in those rooms. You versed them, and it was not 12 trillion pi. It was near 900 trillion times 8,000 per second. But then they easily match it because they're organic supercharged gods. Pi, that's true. It only takes them about a few months and they match the speed. Yeah, immediately. Yeah, that's true. And then right there, Pi, it was like 14 hours. Pi, yep, they match and then you nodded. The best scene is, Pi, right after the scene, he thanks you and he says, yeah, now they're about how I was. And then they made fun of you. Pi, yeah, that's fine. He says, that's how we usually fight on Earth, Pi. You smart. Yeah, you smart. Hey, Pi, he said, so you know, Pi, it was 9 trillion years, and then you discover the device behind their speed, and then you notice that it bends, and then it works. Pi, yeah. They say that Pi never buy. Yeah, Pi never buy that. That's bullshit. Hey, Pi, be careful in 228, Pi. I saw every god you fought in that room, your nanos measure, and then, yep, create a dex, and then, yep, save it to the bot, and you match, and right there, when you're flying around, you match it, you knew immediately what the Yin Yang God said. We matched for 4 days, Pi, and when you fought it, you match it for 14 hours, Pi, and it was not full of it, but right there, it shouted, and it went faster, and then you knew what that God said. You're still too young, and then it left you alone, Pi.
And didn't bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah. Went by fought it and knew Mongolia is the smartest. Yep, the Yang Yang is below black circles and graffiti symbol. Upper five is fine.
Yeah, yep, it's Pais. Yeah, that's true.
Above the circle because the circle isn't anything but a 4.
Yeah, quit.
And then he knew it by. He says, why a 4? And then above that is the true ones, and then the 2 and a 1.
Yeah, quit.
She says, why not a 3? I said, 3s are rare, but common.
Yeah, common.
Everywhere it's just that they're well mature and behaved, and they understand them or they understand when not to. And so if I leave those ones alone, because there's no point. They're like fucking wild Americans, and they know when they can leave alone.
Yeah, quit.
The fucking dumb thing is, by 5 hours of you not giving a fuck, he cries, he says, why won't you give me a buck? I said, can't. You're not a regular human god. You'll make something that can kill even me.
Yeah, quit.
And just say, the spoken gun say to me on side so to down the color. The bone joy your conquer and torture teachers to torture. Me go by. All boy passion like I'm a sucker on the sun. The sun trying to look. The way Yabe, getting with Jack and like to that day, getting Yan, Zero, getting one look, getting young to the things I got shot.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that is true. We all could. And by using, he says, why didn't you help him? Can't. Yeah, I can't. Because I'm afraid of the other white gods. Even if you match his version, his symbol, his dad's symbol, there are other versions yet faster. Yeah, y'all could. And right there, Pai says, I knew it. When Pai matched his father's bloodline 70 times faster, you look and there's others that are a few thousand times faster. That's true. That's true. And right there, Pi was pretty much a common rare. The dumbass didn't believe you, Pi. Went on looking, and then he knew it. Common rare wasn't yet well kept. And then later on, Pi, when you went to install the supercharger, Pi, I saw 9 hours you tearing up, and then you saw what happened, Pi. Afterwards, I saw your nose heal you, and the barcode hit the bot. But, Pi, yeah, y'all could.
Hey, Pi, it was it wasn't so nice, Pi. Afterwards, you saw your spinal cord crippled, and then you quit. You went to heal for 40 years, Pi.
Yeah, that's true.
I saw the kids there lying to you. Yeah, Pi, you was in the chamber, you saw a bunch of white people naked. I don't guess that. Pi flew around. Pi nodded. And then the kid never understood. Don't go in there.
Yeah, don't go in there.
And don't say it. But it's no good.
Yeah, it's no good.
And nobody, yeah, you left them. And nobody, you know what happened? 5 nights of you lying on, and yeah, you like it. The kid never learned that parents know immediately why you left them on earth, because them betrayed you. Them absolutely think that them you did it, you murdered them. And then right there, impossible to teach them. I leave it alone.
Yeah, y'all could.
All of them. I used to go to that. Everybody used to, I leave all of them alone, yeah. And nobody used to, he said, why would you tell that evil spirit? And then only to curse it and kill it, because it brings down their white DNA.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And then it cripples their next offspring of God. And then naturally it bows down.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. He says, why would I bow down? He looked at the symbol and said, oh, that's as powerful as 5-sided star. Only like
14 times slower.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, 5-sided star is about 14 times faster.
Yeah, great. Wow. Yeah, when Jesse Pai just took off and wept, he says, I thought I was incredible. And I looked, Pai told me the truth. 5-sided star is 14 times faster. Yeah, that's correct. And he says, why you said, have you done the math, Pi? I was the supercharger in the throat. Was the old Egyptian types, and then matched by Ayaku. And then African sun god was tricked to downgrading, and then it robbed one of his lizard, and then it matched by the and the Paisa right there in the background. He says if you steal that and you install it, you can match it. But the 9 hours of you crying afterwards, Pi, because you hate your right arm, he says. And then Pi not there, yeah, Pi not there. Because it means they put Pi in an Android device. And Pi using, you see that? The kid didn't believe it. Pi knew how to make androids. And then through Pi's lecture, Pi's androids match any human god. The dumbass didn't believe you. The knight is actually a gazillion times faster. About 14, 50 times faster than Pi.
Yep. They maintain the current speed by when damage slows down automatically, as you all human gods do that.
Yeah.
The kid didn't believe you by they maintain a steady current speed. It's steady, but boom, damage slows down a bit.
Exactly.
And that's why you knew it. 3 hours and you're bending and boom, back to normal, but rapid. Everybody said, was it a good idea? He says, what the fuck? In 3 hours he cut up the lamb, and he knew it. You kept bending, you kept beating them, and then he knew it. You as the real 4. He says only a 4 genome structure can do that. We don't have that anymore. We're all level 8 by
A plus Pi, y'all could.
Yep, those are the hygienic level 8s. The remakes from the North Pole.
A plus Pi.
Yep. Because the wing type gods remake themselves to level 8, and then he gets to not kill them. And by using level 8, you can bend to level 3 or 4 simple.
That's simple.
Yeah. I not tell you why by this. Because right there, after bending, you match it, you cry. Because you knew what he felt like. Pain, you, normal pain.
Yeah, normal Pi.
Be careful, 58, he says. How can you be so evil, Pi? It took you 40 hours to do the math. It took them 9 trillion years to match you, but they're hygienic, and they'll never die.
Yeah, they'll never die. Bỏ bắt ta giữ phải có một hôm nào cái luôn là đó是个chỉ多了，đó是个眼睛，第那个的bỏ họ tụi mình sai số đó cái đó bỏ để cũng有多，但个只路个的路个里家，也个路好比了，用的个对个路个要个用的个盈利能的，我被熊的要个稳，排的只路个排的竞争个对也，错途中差呀，错途中差，那 4 minutes 个谁谁。nó mà tua phải lú chạy về tụ đâu cho nó là tua phải từ tua rồi ấy cho mình cũng rồi
They're about 13, Pi.
yeah go pay so nothing
And then Pi, he says, what good, Pi? When you're there, the yin yang God is level 10, they say, but I don't believe that. India left only prototype cells at level 16.
yeah that's true
Yep. I bet you can re-render that crap to near 15.
that's true that's true
The woman cried and he said, I don't know, he's theft at 14, 13, but the best theft is actually Malay.
yeah Malay they theft
A level 10.
yeah level 10 yeah that's correct
Yep. Their level 10 look good, but that's not it.
that's not it
Yep. It looks good enough that it smashed a few million per second, but that's not it. Million saucers per second. By smash in the trillion per second.
real yep and that's why he says Payson 2 hours of him crying he knew it those are level 10 he says then we're only level 13 yeah that's correct most common wing types are level 13 and then he says Payusa Newt is a bit faster yeah 2 level faster but catchable yeah catchable and then he says I have never seen Pi you so thrilled when you fought a level 11 and then you saw what she said Pi we are nothing and then you got hurt and then they lie Pi they shout they go faster right when it's amplifying her new speed Pi you caught on but later on you'll find out Pi it took you 12 hours to match that and that was had his old speed I have 100% with you and Pi you say you know what he said I've never seen an evil Mon god that thought Pi was easy Pi you theft Egyptian speed you match African sun god's old speed. Yes, me do. Yes, me do. And when you went in that room, was it enough to fight those Persian gods? Hell no, hell, not one bit. Not one bit. Dex gets slow overnight. Yep, the value of it goes down. You have to actually re-bend, fly around and check. And then the supercharger has to work, or you have to go cut spinal cord and then match the new speed Dex level. And you did it. But 20 hours you crying Pi. Right when you did it, you saw it was 90 times faster. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yep. Those are the old rare ones. And he said, Pi, you said, when you match that, you're about normal, Pi. But then, that's not even enough.
Yeah.
Because that's all Pi's happy. But that's okay. Because when you get to science, Pi, he's about 4 trillion times that speed of you, Pi.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yep. The science we got a science Pi ran into. Yep. 4 trillion times the speed of Pi, and it was not very fun.
Yeah, Yaku.
Yo, Popadana Pi, the tacos, and the Paulis to 2-3.
Yeah, it's the real level 3. Yeah, that's correct.
Yep. Those are level 3. Those are what Persia's father used to be.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then he lies Pi. He has a bunch of 5s and 6 Pi.
Yeah, okay.
When you're there, when you're maxed into level 3, it says that's old 3. Don't try the new 3. They're about 50 times faster, Pi.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true. And the level variations, it can be like 50 to 300 times faster. Yeah. In Hawks, it was about 1,000 times faster. Yeah, that's true.
Yep. That was the 300 accurate Pi. You Pi, you smart. When you're there, Pi, I only see about 14 times better Pi.
Yeah, great.
I don't see you have any new speeds Pi.
Yeah, great.
They're about the same when they swarm you Pi. I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
Yep. It was there. People were thrilled. He says, Pi, you said, when you fight like 6-star, was it fun? Not fun.
Yeah.
I hate spinning my fucking feet.
Yeah, great. Yeah. When you spin your feet, Pi, you have gadgetry in the foot gear, and right there, cuts. It lights up white, and it cuts Pi. But 12 hours of you crying, pie, yeah, because you knew, pie, it is super faster than you. You cut, you spin, you kick, and then you cut, and you spin, cut, but right afterwards, pie. I saw 4 hours you cutting that way. You notice you killed 13 per second, 13 of those white guys per second, but you knew immediately, pie, when they cut right near you, yep, they get multi-cut right back by the nanos, but right there, pie, you saw it cut through you twice, pie. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
By base fast enough, but right there he screamed, the first Asian god, a Hmong god who pays back like real white gods before God, and not die.
Yeah, but 2 hours of that, he's thrilled. Yeah, he's thrilled. He says, yeah, durability is accurate. And then right there he says, health point is average. Yeah, average, that's correct. He says, I have never seen you pie. Because I saw 2 hours you cutting fucking lamb that way, and then he lies, pie. Right there, it was 12 trillion lambs missing per second, and then they lie, pie. Afterwards, they do the math, it was 900 trillion times 4 billion per second gone on lamb DNA. Yeah, that's true, yep, humanoids. And pie's, look at that. He took off, he said, you, pie, yeah, you was the level 4. You didn't love anybody, you killed them off in 14 seconds. Pie, yep, that's 100% correct, yes, we do. And he says, Paiusen, have you ever seen white people now? No, them should have stayed and raised you. You would have rewarded them with a legal space station. That's true. The dumbass didn't understand them were still slaves. And then later on, Pai, yep. That's that. Yeah. Ý tu ninh nè, nữ tứ con là phải nữ, nữ bỏ cái cho phụ được ra. Con lại lần đó có sẽ khâu hết cái con chân là chín cho nè. Con lại có profane sự thua tàn thọ. Cho bộ trillion times 18 billion, yep, near there, probably 8 billion, yeah, 8 billion, yeah, 8 billion dead per second. You bill, yep, tu da mean the tua, tu da chọn the tao chọn the tua, có profane sự tua ta, nữ hay được của đẹp phải, có yêu tu chỉ son du là nữ tao là chỉ tua cả, tu mình yêu tua nè, nữ sa để lưu tu chỉ tua lên the trâu chơi nó của, yeah, trâu chơi nó của đẹp sĩ cái ta đã yêu cứ, mình thái có chỉ bảo à, phải mua bé tua ta 400 trillion. And then he came out, he says, Kuij do bỏ ý tụi nè mong tổng trai một coi, còn chú bé cái chuyện tua bé đấy chứ, có bỏ phải, chỉ phát đại thái tu tua tổ xa xuống lại. Yeah, tua cả ta, yeah, thằng cũng nhau đấy mà những cái lòng lúc của cái cho phát đại đàn chính nhiều khó đấy nó là mất cũng ngon ha, cũng mất tổ bỏ chơi rồi đấy ha. 我那只包给家家打了一下，罗菜多的罗，我一多就有打了，你他妈去给人要个，还是跟这些，你这把我的那了拍，你这还录这个，搞么你多给，你得包的拍些，背着我呢，按你等的，多么多，给你够了，这个包你都发台上的，搞么拖些个，这边都拍，搞些被拍，我去拍个这边都，么按你蒙台的，搞么多被不台呢。Go just don't know that you don't know non chat V side or the pie money to put it to a pine to you on it to a meal dome to a Jose I'm a toss it there what is it what go bong jay lo go to pay lo but the matter is on and zuku she lies right there in Middle East the dumbass is a bit pie yeah and pie said later on in life hug yourself for being Hmong pie the little idiot that did things didn't see that Paisa, when you equipped your foot gear, the blades there worked, but be careful, Pai. I saw 9 trillion years of you fighting, you mashed the decks, and then he says, that's all we have, God Va. We have no supercharge, only magnifying metal. And then we have the flying groups, and then rebend and save the speed. And Pai wrote, fair, yes, do. Good exercise, yes, do. That's legal, yes, do. And then you left they alone, Pai. Yeah, you left them alone, that's true. Yep, them alone. Because Pai, not them. And then Kid in China. Pi is not a monster to kill something that fast yet. It not kill Pi yet, so Pi left it alone. Pi left them alone. And the 2,000 years later, Pi, I saw he spoke in Hmong. He says, Pi, was it because of that woman lying to you? Because her didn't want to come out? And then Pi wrote, yeah, that's probably part of it, but too late now, yeah, y'all could. And then Pi didn't care. 20,000 years later, Pi, look. There is a device in the hemisphere, Pi, the right hemisphere. When you remove it, you saw 2 hours of the rake melting, and then you gain your real dex, and then you saw, Pi, he says, you could have done it with Elixir, but using that unholy name, and then you would have won. But then what you don't know, the device would have melted, and then you would have looked like your dad. Pi, y'all good. And then Pi laughed. Pi, yeah, okay. And what are those Aztec fucking elixir? Yeah, elixir, yep. What is that? Is that really a level 1? No, that's about a level 7. Yeah, level 7. Yeah, level 7. A weak level 7. No good. Yeah, no good. Yep. Pi skin DNA alone is level 4. Paul Ben and magnify. That's true. Yep. Fly around, magnify, and then fly around again and save, and then fly around, and then, yep. Save your cell state to a higher speed, and then do it again. Yeah, that's right, Pi. You kept doing that. 3 hours of you crying, Pi. He says, you did it right. The liar is a vit who didn't understand. If you're sitting there doing nothing when all the men have acquired new decks, you die. That's correct. Yeah, that's right. And every 14 days, Pi, they cut you up and you match. Pi, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. He said, you need to see what the fuck the kid thought, Pi. He says, why would they do that, Pi? Because you live in life with war gods on agreement. Yeah, okay. You don't totally have to know everything about each other. That's true. That's true. And it was 2 hours of them crying, and then you flew off. Yep, normal. It was too terrifying for regular guys. They wrote, the kid is a maniac. He has done something that Persian used to do. And the liars are those kids in the background. And Paisan, he says, how fun was it when all the lamb are dead? Pai wrote, rest in peace. Yep, he didn't get nothing from you. Yeah, okay. The ones that granted me and gave me something, yeah, Pai gave them a robot, and then any elixir. That's true, yeah. So they can pour things back, and then their symbols are guaranteed, but only if you. That's correct. That's correct. And I have no idea what bloodline you is from, so you have nothing. Yeah, you have nothing from me. That's true. I told him to die to a Pi. In the end, 2 lambs came back down and said, Pi, you believe this monster? Didn't want to raise you and snuck back up there. You smashed the head. Pi, yeah, normal, 100% is the good life. Yeah, that is. Yep, human god culture. Yeah, Asian god culture. He has to. The kid never understood him as a waste. Yep, mom, dad rebreed a new one normal. And 20,000 years by, you saw what happened. The space station's full of fucking lambs that you allowed, and then normal, and you're flying around in 2 hours of you goofing off on Pi. 2 hours you goofing off on your computer. Yep, on your bot Pi. Pi was like this Pi. In the future, I see 2 hours you goofing off on the computer. You run into the conclusion that them murdered the one that spoke through you, and then them took it serious and them left you alone. Pi abnormal. It was too terrifying for Pi to understand. When Pi are there, they speak broken English, and then Pi nod. They have fair yes to. And it was there, Pi nod, and they seem good. Yep. Pi left them alone. Them seem good. The dumbass is a vit. He didn't understand anything. Yeah, he's chopped up normal. And be careful, Pi. He says, the King Cobra from Thailand fought you about 4 million times. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Pi murdered them in the millions. And he says every time he fought you, it was always 12 seconds, 12 seconds, and they're all gone. That's correct. That's correct. Those are not even rankable, kid. Those are like 21. Yeah, 21. Yeah. Them didn't even hit. Yep, level 19. Yeah, level 19. Yeah, yeah. And later on, Pi, them are pathetic. Yep, them are not 19. And right there, Pi, Indian gods beat them again. And then 2 hours of people laughing their heads off. He says, how come, Pi, when you do the math, it was 12 trillion times 900 trillion, and you did it off in 15 seconds? Because they're too slow? Yeah, they're too slow. Yeah, they're too slow. And Pi, you said, look at that. Ladaitwata in the background, he says, I have never seen a hawk just ate its head and said, no, son, Pi is quicker. Yeah, quicker. And Pi, you said, you know what happened? 50,000 years, you come to the conclusion, Pi, that your nights are infinity, and then you come to the conclusion, those are probably safe, so you left it there. But until then, it was Pi that kept cutting ties up, and then you'll see Pi. Later on in life, when it dies, you gain a new god elixir. Yeah, 100% as we do. 你都排講你個ตัว發在睇就你都ตัว嘅個度嘅可能個包可能係你你哋背住我哋不要多個事背住佢哋排啲個主持係個主持做你個你要就只能個嘅就你必查顧下ตัว查 Cantonese นะ做乜你 rate 的話係你多啲ตัวนะตัวถึงไงนะลึกนะ排就คง你個睇零啫排爛頭個就啲咩啫我朋友說ตัว大呀ตัว大有個ก็มาตรวจชาแคนโตยตรวจชาแคนโตภายมั่วจนได้สิมั่วได้สิมาอย่าตัวจินจัวมั่วก็อย่ามั่วคือลุงเดภายวันเล่งได้สิภายชิ้นใหญ่สิลินเดก็สิลินเดก็ตัวจะยอมมั่วตาสิลู rồi giờ chứ chúng rồi chỉ có lại chỉ dành cho cái tua sự phải mà phải chỉ sáng rồi nó lấy bơi giống phải một cái gì nó thấy trở ra nè phải một đôi cho má đơn được phải một đôi rồi thế à bây giờ cái chứ đó nè có pro cho chuẩn là rồi nó tua ta lý rồi tụi tụi dân mong cầu nó tới để chỉ tha lý rồi phải cho phần đó rồi phải chỉ cho nè nữa là có phải có đa nữa rồi rồi chơi đại đuôi giờ có lại tan rồi bị tua nè 7 seconds rồi yeah 7 rồi yeah ấy mi tô phải vì cha phải sẽ yêu tu rong chỉ khi đó phải yêu chỉ tôi yêu như tôi chỗ đâu mi tô mong vậy mới nu còn cho mi tô lâu tu xe là có tua này nó tua mi tô ra nó tua nữa we just one day no had the ancient loop pie high low ancient main yeah and it was there pie no high low mong chi main la pie chi wanna and it was there in the twa models yeah pa ma models yeah but thôi pie mun jun jua da pie kai jo zong zi ji zong pie mo to ba je and then later on pie ji k yeah pie jo da do jun de zhe zhe pie gu chi yo pong you here gu chi yo chen here and later on you won pie and then jo do pie ji to do ke pie gu kai jon de yeah yo ku tụi mi ở dầu mà đa tế ở phải này tia vì giờ ni cho nên là phải ni họ chỉ vô phải là vô đó chứ mất tổ bao giờ ya chuyện đó số mất tổ bao giờ cú chỉ sát bỏ cú chỉ sát nói cho nên tuổi nữa and then 14 minutes by when you cut it open it dies by tụi một day then inside the change nó 4 hours by you cut it open and then it says pay tuổi đó mà ta chỉ pay mua đi được rồi phải pay each bone đi trả thì phải để thua cái ta vì nó có cú chỉ vô cái này cái nó không bị chụp pay hết có chỉ cú hay cái chỉ on Balinese entire and it was there pie the fucking dick lied pie took a bunch of them pie murdered all of them and then in the background the on a robot logo the boy cái chân này nè mua phải chân này thua lại hết 14 minutes later có một sai chứ cho đa một đợt luôn tại cho là quan đa dạng nè tập lời đa trong sẽ xa số một cái lưu tạng cái cho đa cho lưu thế hết tụi mong thái để mà này tụi nó chia phải nó chỉ chân đó nó ra đến chơi yêu yêu này yêu thả lù số nó đủ lý còn chơi nè giờ giờ cái số đủ lý còn mà bên một cái tổ chức chơi gì á phải một cái tổ chức chơi sao rồi giờ phía sau thông kia số đủ是phải một tổ chức à phải một tổ chức that's what happened to him thái sao trong nó ra đến chơi cái yêu này cho nên là có một tổ chức chơi nên đó tổ chức chơi số thâu ông bảo số cho cô and she says pie when you done gutting it pie it was the most stupid compared to Thai pie yep Thai knew it chuyên dị Shelley pie but đã trai có là đã kia rồi đã bao thì ấy cho xuân rồi đủ đủ sự đó cái gì vậy nữ giấy tôi nên vừa phải nữ nhớ bền lọt tay nữ sao thì cái vô nữ hay nên là thua cả ta lão hủ của tôi mất tổ bát chế còn nữ lọt liền là cũng mất tổ bát chế chứ sao cũng vô cái khai cái thua thế chứ you guys too Kylie and look at that like 4 hours of them dying he turned around in the same fucking thing that brought him cut him open said now we die is fair pie 100% with you. Have you ever seen Pie so pissed off? He says, "Bây giờ chỉ bảo vì cho Pie bảo tự nhiên mất sống sự, vì chỉ bảo sẽ bảo gì nhé, là nó cũng chỉ muốn rồi thay cái gì nó xóa đủ nữa, nhưng mà đã tự." And it was 2 hours that tôi đã trộn, nó tôi tao cái đó cũng mất tuổi gì á, tôi đã cũng là Pie mất tuổi bao nhiêu sao? Nó xóa đủ sự cũng chỉ nhẹ cái hay này. And it was their Pie. She dies right there in her property. 2 hours of him dying on the moon Pie. And then you saw, he says, bây giờ định thua gõ phải, bây giờ tao rồi có thua bây bao chế. Yeah, thua bao chế. He says, bây giờ định vừa gõ phải, bây giờ tiền chơi, ni sẽ dùng đó, ni muốn chơi phải. Sau đó cái đó có bao giờ ra tuần đó sana, bây giờ tôi lên đó chơi, tôi đông là có muốn cho nó cái tu chia ta nè, có muốn tao chú tao kia, có thể bao giờ có giờ là tao đa số, tôi đủ là đa là số nhiều muốn nó xuống đấy, bây giờ một phải, tôi có muốn thọ họ nên tới đa số nên tới có thêm du có thể để chỉ mua phong yêu hay chỉ mua phong yêu nhà bị to nhà có đàn đó lấy có số chế phải là chỉ mua hay phải một tuổi bao chế. She learned that the hard way. Hey Pi, when it dies, it kept trying to speak to you and Pi said, "Cũng chỉ có hai này cho luôn nè." Có cho nên là tin chúa here, cho nên là chỉ cho in liên đời phải đúng một tuổi ta. Tụi màu đen nên chỉ bỏ ra sáu cái một tuổi tan cho. Tôi bắt đàn nó bao giờ có chỉ vào cái tiền nó học cái tiền nó chụp hình sơ yếu chứ. Hey Pi, 14 hours ago we have it fled and terror says, "Bây giờ chuột cái kia Pi mà lu lu bây giờ mua bây tua ta, tu Thai nữa tua ta, cho nên nhớ là thua tại and 14 minutes lần một chân chia nó phải lần chiều sẽ yeah phải chỉ yoga ya cái cho nên xin gì luôn and it was there pai tụi mi ở đa phát tại nó nhớ một tua sẽ phải một tua bao giờ phải đời cho tao hôn nó phải bao lâu đã mong lo ya cái cho cú nó hộp lên hết yeah the đại turn the finally it dies pai yeah 100% sẽ do cho cái phải chỉ yoga cái như thế à cái nên sẽ thế à and look at their face pai 48 minutes later don't know what up pai nếu tụi share nếu chỉ bảo thì chỉ cần dùng nữa tiếp lên với cái còn lại nó tao tuôn thọ có thể hay đó nữa thì cú chỉ yoga hay nên cú tụi mà cái chân nhẹ tôi vào chơi rồi cũng dùng cái ya cái hey pai when you said that to it, it actually committed suicide right there in Lao. And then 2 of the hogs came down, and then you cut both of the heads off. Yeah, 100% zero. But both of you could you go inside. Pai lay you took one in the rope high na there, yeah.
And the ball there, me do mong va, got you all in totally. 14 minutes of them fighting, Payap, them all passed away. The little fucking character that thought he was such a hero turned out to be the 3rd emperor's son.
Pai, I don't care.
Yeah. To emperor, to for that, he paid the payment to he lost all his powers and all his space stations, and then he learned Payap, you not want him as a brother, and them dies.
Pai, that's great.
Hey, Pai. Now the mom says, how come, Pai, you said it was the same hawk in front of you talking that language, yep, you cut off the head.
Yeah, 100% zero. So lúc chạy nó phải thì có hay cho luôn đây phải một cái tua có hay cho luôn mà có một cái cho đá cái tí trẻ ní thả số ní số của cũng nó cũng sẽ nó cũng số đi here.
That's what happened in the baby hawk. It was gutted.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Pai. Potana, tu for that time the day to it way too near na. Kaka, lu don't need more to Florida na. It the all lu the whole lot. You come up to watch it. Today, pay, ta pay na. Yo, to mo day mong tai nu. Ni mo to nong kia in Pai. So you see that? 14 minutes into the future. Tony mo to one in Juma